There's no link to it.
So
But it
pretty
uses
much better
social media.
speaking to you.
Oh,
I ruminate when I run.
So the flyer
so you don't listen to music?
put in the hallway and say,
Okay.
oh, I
Okay.
put the link to get to the association's website.
Yeah.
How was your car? Oh, shit.
All right now.
I know slip when I hear it.
Perfect timing, I was just gonna ask you to test the mics. Let's say the word, you said.
So it's
Just
like,
because we was hearing a hot mic.
yeah.
Hot mic in here.
Okay.
Have you all test the mics?
Oh,
Your mic?
testing, testing.
I'm fine.
Can you hear me?
It's like a
Testing, testing. But we don't know if it's
Yes.
out there.
Testing. Can you hear me?
Testing.
Okay, now that's
Oh,
testing. Okay, so we have to literally like, okay. dip the mic
Testing.
down.
Oh, testing. Good. Okay.
help me with my posture.
Just to kind of break a
I can't help it.
So that's my biggest personal challenge right now.
Yeah.
Could be worse, I guess.
Still takes a toll.
Good evening and welcome to the Housing Forum that is being hosted by the Schenectady branch of the NAACP. We're so very happy to have you with us here tonight, whether you're watching us live on Open Stage Media, or if you're here with us at Proctor Theater. And if you're just watching this, you still got time to get down here. If you're around the corner, just come on in. We're in the GE Theater. So tonight, we will be talking about the state of housing in the city of Schenectady. And we have some knowledgeable panelists with us from different organizations that will be able to give us information, not only on the state of housing, but they'll tell us about the services that their organizations offer, and how they can be of help to anyone that might have an issue with housing, might want to buy a house, looking for an apartment. There's a variety of things going on in housing, and so they're going to be able to address some of these things tonight. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves as we go around, and if you can just take maybe 3 minutes to talk about your organization, tell us who you are, tell us what your organization offers, and we're going to start with talking about maybe home buying. So I am going to go first. She's up first, Karen Smith.
Yes. Hello, my name is Karen Smith. I represent a company, broker owner, First Candor Realty. We have a main office located in Albany, New York. We service the entire capital region, all the way down to downstate, Suffolk County, Brooklyn, you name it. We're statewide at this point. We help people with that. We basically dedicate a lot of time to first-time home buyers. It's been our specialty. I've been in the business for 32 years now, but I'm 35, by the way. And but I really am still just as passionate as the day that I started in the business. Schenectady has been very dear to me, I may add, because I had a lot of my first-time experiences here. I had first-time home buyers that were 77 and 78 years old, which was really amazing to me because I've never experienced that in all of my years. I had a seller that was 98 years old and could remember more than I could. It was so funny. He was really, really mentally alert and very versed in the community and so forth like that. So I had a lot of very inspirational moments here in Schenectady. I've been here for 7 years, and I'm very dedicated to helping this place grow.
Thank you so very much. I think I failed to introduce myself. So, I am Reverend Nicole Harris. I am the president of the Schenectady branch of the NAACP. So, we will now go to Madeline Thorne.
Good evening, all. Thank you for inviting me to this evening's important event. My name is Madeline Thorne. I'm the executive director of Habitat for Humanity of Schenectady County. And our mission is to assist first-time working-class families achieve home ownership. And we, in the Schenectady affiliate of Habitat, we do that by utilizing a great deal of effort from volunteers to help construct homes. By using volunteers, it's a twofold benefit. One is it certainly does keep the price of the house affordable. The cost to build a home is about half of what you would be paying if you had contractors involved. The other benefit is it helps communities interact with communities. You're bringing people into a neighborhood that maybe would not have normally gone into that neighborhood, but they're building a home. So everybody kind of gets an understanding of we're all just people. We're all have many commonalities. We have many of the same goals. It's a very positive experience, both for the home buyer and for the volunteers. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that we have an incredible staff at Schenectady Habitat, people that give so much of their heart and their time just to make sure our mission continues to grow. So the idea is, as I said, we build brand new or total gut rehabs so that when the homeowner does achieve home ownership, they know that their home is fully inspected, safe, energy efficient, brand new appliances. They're not going to be facing maintenance issues for hopefully many years to come. The other part about Habitat that I'm very proud about, it's not a buyer beware world. It is, we stay in touch with families. If they have problems, if they have questions, if suddenly their homeowner's insurance is increased by some dramatic amount, we're able to help them navigate that world. Because again, being first-time homebuyers, by definition, they have never been exposed to that world before. So it's supportive, it's important. If I have any challenge, I have a lot of challenges at Habitat, but the thing that concerns me is our throughput. Because our houses are being built by volunteers, and as opposed to contractors, we just can't produce as much as I would like to produce, because I know the need for home ownership is growing. When a family achieves home ownership, they're investing in themselves, they're investing in their community, they're building wealth, they're building self-determination, and so much pride. Their kids are going to settle down. They're not going to be bounced around to different school systems or different teachers. By owning a home, you'll get better rates on credit cards because it affects how your credit rating is read by the community. So I'm very proud of the work that Habitat does. I'm very pleased to be part of this tonight, and I'm hoping that we find a way. Oh, I would be remiss. One of the things I really like about Schenectady, I like a lot, but one of the things is it's a community that works together. We reach across. Our not-for-profits in Schenectady work openly, efficiently. Rich Hominick, he's been a friend to Habitat for many years. Jenica and Alex, they're helping our families clean up their credit and get ready to get that mortgage. It's such an important partnership. And that's what is unique to Schenectady. You don't see that often. I'm very proud of that. We should be very proud of that as a community. And then there's one more thing, and then 3 minutes is not nearly enough. We also have a restore. So a restore is people donate their furniture. We sell that furniture to the public at very affordable prices of appliances, furniture, lighting, and so on. That helps underwrite a great deal of our administrative costs. So when we build a home, the grants are only paying for construction materials. We're covering all our own payroll, our utilities at 115 North Broadway. Plus, by doing that, we're keeping 185 million tons? 178 million tons out of our landfills.
Nice.
There we go.
Sweet.
I'll be quiet now.
That's okay. Thank you so much for all of that information. So we're talking about homes that are built by volunteers, and then Ms. Smith selling homes to first-time home buyers 60 in their
78.
78.
Yeah.
Wow. So never too young, too old to be a first-time home buyer. Thank you so very much. We are now going to go to Mr. Maurice Brown.
Yay.
Hello, how are you doing? So my name is Maurice Brown III. I am the home ownership coordinator for the city of Schenectady. I work under the Department of Development. There's a number of different responsibilities that I have, but generally speaking, I'm also responsible along with other department staff for helping increase home ownership, helping facilitate the purchase process for a lot of people, as well as helping maintain current home ownership within the city of Schenectady. So I really coordinate a lot of efforts between many of our partners, and many of them are here today as well, too. So a lot of times I might help you no matter what stage you're in. Maybe you need to find a realtor, you need to know what kind of questions you should be asking a realtor to start with if you're just curious. Helping connect you with lenders that are going to be beneficial to you in your personal financial situation. I'm not a housing counselor, but I do refer a lot of people to some of our great partners with Better Community Neighborhoods Incorporated, or I just use the, the BCNI. And a lot of times, I'm even just moral support. There have been times where buyers have asked me to just be at the closing table with them because they may not have another family member or another person to sit there with them. And it can be an overwhelming experience sometimes. There's a lot of things going on. Sometimes I actually will help translate what some of the professionals might be saying to you. And sometimes we're not as confident when it's not a field that we're experts in. The majority of homeowners and home buyers are not loan officers. That's primarily where my background is in. So I work to help you clearly understand what those different terms that they may be so accustomed to using that you're not necessarily comfortable asking the direct question with, and just helping create that partnership for you. In addition to that, I also am responsible for the front-end process of selling of our city-owned homes. So as many of you may already know, in our community, there are a number of homes that the city of Schenectady owns that for one reason or another ended up in our possession. And I work to get those in the hands of responsible home buyers. So we evaluate those offers each individually. We work with our real estate community, such as Candor Realty, in order to list those homes and provide the opportunity for home ownership and getting those homes in the hands of people who are willing to invest and fix up those homes. And some of them are people who want to live here in our community. Some of them want to provide quality rentals for our community. And some people have more entrepreneurship things that they want to do, and they want to maybe flip the property, maybe rehab it and then sell it. So we provide that opportunity for a lot of people to grow.
Thank you so much. So you've sat in closings with folks before?
Yes, it can be an emotional process for a lot of people.
Well, yeah, I remember the first time I bought a house, it felt like you're signing your life away. You just sign this, sign this, sign this.
Yeah, and then the thing is, like, a simple thing that nobody really speaks about. Mm-hmm. You're signing some of the same papers you already signed previously. Mm-hmm. So you feel like you're crazy because no one said you were going to re-sign the same papers that you signed previously. There's a reason for it, and sometimes professionals don't always consider re-explaining to you why you have to sign the same document again, and you're really just confirming the information hasn't changed. Mm-hmm. And if there is a change, that's something that everyone has to take into consideration. Because everyone who is party of that transaction, it's meaningful to them. And it's not just from a financial basis, it's an investment into the community. It's an investment into each of us as individuals.
Thank you so much. Okay, now we are going to talk to Mr. Richard Homenack.
All right. Well, thank you, and good evening, everyone. Thrilled to be here. We're the Schenectady Municipal Housing Authority has been around since the 1930s. I've been there since 1993. Been an executive director since, the last 20 years, and been really honored to be in that position and trying to move the Housing Authority forward to keep up with the housing needs in Schenectady. I think preservation is our most important task at hand because we do have over 1,000 public housing units that are becoming obsolete as we speak, in large part because the federal government decided to disinvest in public housing as a program and have basically prorated our subsidy for many, many years. So we're left with a decision to become creative and entrepreneurial and start projects like we're doing at Yates Village, which I can talk more about later in the other part of the forum. But we do serve 2,500 families in the city of Schenectady through various programs. We actually have 11 housing programs. We're best known for public housing in Section 8, but we do a lot more than that. The other programs are smaller, but they're impactful and important to people as well. I guess I could leave it at that, but,
I'll come back around.
you know, I know I'll be digging into more of what I don't want to say during the intro, so at a later time. So I'll just leave it at that, and looking forward to
Thank you.
the rest.
Thank you so much. Alexandria Carver is now going to share some information with us. Yes?
Yes,
Okay.
of course. Good evening. My name is Alexandria Carver. I am the Housing Counseling Program Manager at Better Community Neighborhoods, and what I do is I work with potential home buyers and renters and walk them through the home buying process or prevent foreclosure, budgeting, financial confidence. We are a HUD-approved housing counseling agency, and I am also a HUD-certified housing counselor. So I make sure that our clients that are coming in are aligned with the different grant down payment programs that are available to them in the capital region. We also work closely with our community partners. We help families come from public housing to homeownership, Section 8 to homeownership. We work with the Habitat in the city of Schenectady closely as well. And we also facilitate many educational programs, again, financial confidence, home buying 101, and then the HUD required 8-hour HUD certificate, HUD home buying course.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Good to know that all of these things are available, right? Okay. So now we're going to go around and we're going to talk about renting. Okay, because some people are renters and they're okay with that. They want to rent their apartment or their house, and but when rents go up, you know, those are some of the things we'll get into tonight. But what about the renting, the state of housing in Schenectady as it pertains to renting? So I'm going to go through that. I do want to ask that Jenica give an introduction of herself, and I know that there's some programs, rentals or things like that you want to talk about. But if you can give us an introduction and talk a little bit about your program.
So my name is Jenica Huff. I'm the CEO of Better Community Neighborhoods, Inc. Our mission is to build and support resilient communities where people of all backgrounds can flourish. We do that a number of ways. We provide housing counseling through our amazing Miss Alexandria Carver and her team. We have 4 HUD-certified housing counselors on staff. We also do that through providing opportunities to current homeowners that may not have the ability to make critical repairs on their homes to remain in their homes. So we provide owner-occupied rehab grants. And in conjunction with those grants, we provide housing counseling in addition so that current homeowners can adjust their budgets to provide for what Alex likes to refer to as the God Only Knows Fund, or a replacement reserve for future critical repairs that are needed to maintain tenancy in their homes. And then we also build both ownership and rental, affordable rental opportunities. So we provide a number of services, and I mean, as Madeline has said, and Maurice has alluded to, and Rich certainly, Schenectady is an amazing place to be partnered with others in this important work. And the great thing to realize is, evidenced in this amazing panel, is that there are a number of different affordability tools that we can employ based on what's appropriate for that particular area. It might be home ownership through Habitat. It might be rental. It could be the land trust model. It could be any number of things. And that's the great thing, that having such a diverse team here, we really can get at what is the most important tool that we employ in our affordability toolbox for this particular locale, given what we're hearing from the residents and what we understand about the social, political, and economic geography of the area. So I'm honored to be here tonight working with such great and talented people, and happy to continue the conversation.
Okay, so we're going to ask some questions now as it pertains to home ownership. So what is the process for accepting applications for the programs at your organization? In addition, what is the percentage of approved applications that have been taken in? And when do you not accept an application for your program? Or what would, make you turn the application down? Anyone
Well,
can-
it's home ownership, so with respect to everybody. In the Habitat model, families must earn within HUD-defined income guidelines. They're hard numbers, and there are certain boxes that have to get ticked off. At the end of the day, with the Habitat process, applicants are going to have to successfully apply for a mortgage. It's not a gimme. It's not an entitlement program. You earn a mortgage. You have to have a decent credit rating. Your debt to income has to be under control. And but it helps people get strength through that process, understand how finances work. So the idea with Habitat, at least, is they apply for a home when they hit these guidelines as stated by HUD and can successfully attain a mortgage, then they're ready for home ownership. Now again, though, working in partnership with the counselors at BCNI, they're helping to explain along the way what all of the intricacies mean. We're concentrating on the construction end of it. That's why this is such a great partnership. It allows us to do what we do well, allows BCNI to do what they do well. Now I know that they're going to get into more construction in the future, and that's all the better for all of us, because as our city gets stronger, as the housing becomes improved, it's the rising tide attitude. So we do have an application that's online. It's relatively simple. Families are asked to perform sweat equity, which means they come on site with our volunteers. And that's not just to make people do work, so that the families get the understanding that there's a lot of people that want them to succeed. There's a lot of people cheering them on. And they also just get to learn construction skills, power drills, how to do a measurement. It's a great program, very proud of it.
There's one thing that you said I wanted to, if you could expound on it a little bit, the rise in the tide that you're talking about.
When we build a house, and I say we, believe me, it's our volunteers. When the volunteers are building the house, what we see in the neighborhood is the other renters or homeowners are coming out and they see that we're investing in their neighborhood. They see somebody is paying attention and somebody cares. And the families in the neighborhood, we see them start to improve their property. We see them starting to invest in their property. So all of us with improved housing, our city is just going to get stronger and be, kids are, as they calm down, they're better able to concentrate in schools if they're not having to move over and over again. There's so many factors of how it rolls in together. It's a complicated process, but at the end of the day, a safe place to live it's everything to a family. And I use that word a lot, family. A family in Habitat land is whatever a family is. It's not mom and dad and 2.5 kids. It's single moms, single dads, single people. We don't much care. It's whoever you want to be in your house with you. And I was remiss before because I should have pointed out, Maurice is a great friend and partner to Habitat families. He spent a lot of hours helping folks get through the process, and he's taught me a lot about how the process works. So thank you, Maurice.
Thank you so much. Anyone else want to add to what has been said? Yes, Ms. Smith.
Yes, that was like an amazing summary of what we do. I do agree that we all kind of work in conjunction. It's almost like a conveyor belt. We're all greatly aware of what the other parties do. So when someone comes to me and say, okay, I need to be pre-approved, or I have credit issues, I send them down to Alex, and so forth like that, and vice versa, the Habitat. We all kind of work in conjunction with each other. So it's really good that we are encouraged to do so. But it's like a conveyor belt kind of situation. So it's like sometimes a client may come to me, they're not pre-approved yet as a realtor. I'll explain to them the importance of being pre-approved, because how are you going to know your purchasing power? Because a lot of people want to just go online and start searching and buy with their eyes and say, I like this house, I have good credit. There's much more involved than just having good credit, so they don't really understand the formula. And also, it's a misconception that realtors are going to really know about mortgages. They're very closely linked, but they're two separate fields. So a lot of times, even though financing is my background per se, I really try to fray away from that as much as I possibly can, because there could be misinformation, and I don't want people to think that a realtor is responsible for mortgage questions. So it's almost like allowing the next person to play their position, and we can do both together and have a successful outcome. So I just kind of wanted to reiterate what you were saying, that how we all kind of work together.
Yeah.
So-
May I?
Yes.
So our process, we have an intake process. If a potential home buyer or someone looking for services, they can give us a call or come into the office and get an application. So we do an initial screening. We don't turn anybody away. So yes, some of the programs are, the income, the HUD income would allow you access to more opportunities as far as grants and what's available to you, but anybody can come get service from BCNI. So if there's a homeowner that doesn't fit exactly into those income guidelines that are established with HUD, you can still come and get advocacy. You can still get the tools and resources that are available to help you make a knowledgeable home buying decision. So what a counselor will do, they will assess your credit, your budget and affordability, and then they will lay it out on, these are the grants that are available, this is what you can qualify for, this is out there, but your particular lender doesn't participate, and we match you with some of the professionals in the area to help you navigate. So if there's a lender, you want to do a particular program, for example, there are 7 lenders in the capital region that participate in the Homebuyer Dream Program. That may not be your lender, but when you're meeting with a counselor, she's going to say, you can do this grant, and this grant if you go with one of these lenders, because they're all participating lenders. So our application process, it does ask for a substantial amount of information. Some people shy away. They don't want to give away all of their information, but it is required for a counselor to really help you and dig in to your finances and where you are to help you figure out what your trajectory is as far as home ownership.
And just one more thing on that. We also offer what Alex referenced earlier, a financial confidence series, and it's really open to anyone. You don't have to income qualify, come. We offer it, we'll be offering it twice this year. It's held on Saturdays for an hour and a half for 5 Saturdays in a quarter. And it's an amazing opportunity, and I'm just going to brag on Alex a little bit. This we had a client come in to us last year, didn't even imagine that home ownership was even within her reach when she came to Financial Confidence. And a part of the Confidence series is to align your values, your personal values, and your budget. And that same client closed on her first home 9 months later. And that was due to our fantastic housing counseling staff that took her the next step from Financial Confidence series on into pre-purchase and repairs to her credit and, assembling the down payment and the financing needed to then close. So we have services and opportunities for everyone in Schenectady, and we encourage you to check us out.
Yes.
So I think your original question was, how are the programs accessed or applied?
Application.
So the Housing Authority has a homeownership program through its Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program. It's good that I'm here to talk about it because it might not be as well known as some of our other programs. To qualify, you have to be a voucher holder under the Section 8 program already. So it's obviously limited by that requirement. Vouchers are, scarce. They're, and the waiting list is closed typically, so it's difficult to get a voucher. But if you are a voucher holder and you do have the income requirements for a mortgage, utilizing the payment, the housing assistance payment that we would typically make to the property owner that you lease from, we can then turn that into an asset for a mortgage payment. You do have to be a first-time home buyer as well, and not have ownership in the property to begin with. And if I believe it's a 15-year mortgage limit, unless you're a person with a disability, then it's up to 30 years. And the income requirements that are standard for a non-disabled person are waived if you're a person with a disability, and the calculation for income requirement there is basically any disability income you have, SSI, SSD, you know, over 12-month period would be the money that would qualify. So it is a longer period for the mortgage. There's also a homeownership counseling component. You have to participate in a program that BCNI actually partners with us to handle that component. And not sure of all the structure of that or all the topics covered, but it's pretty comprehensive. And there was a push a while back to which HUD has resisted to allow more than just single-family homes into this process. We really made an effort to convince HUD to say, can we include something other, such as in Schenectady and a lot of regional you know, areas, they have 2-family houses, 3-family houses, and you know, the idea was to, you know, while we're in this program, that we can own the home plus have some income through leasing, you know, in the 2-family house, just one of the, you know, one of the apartments, so to speak. But they have not allowed that, and it doesn't seem like they're gonna allow that, but we, you know, we hope that someday they would, because I think it would be a good program for us as well. So generally, to answer the question on how to access, you already had to be a voucher holder, so.
Okay. So I think I want to pause for a moment to talk about HUD. So is HUD the, I don't know, the organization behind the organization? How many of the organizations here work with HUD or under HUD regulations?
We do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, because I think that's important for folks to understand, because I'm assuming, and you guys just explained it to me, and I think you, Mr. Homanek, kind of touched on it a bit, that there are these regulations that you have to abide by, right? And so sometimes when Mrs. Carver said that, you know, they're asking a lot of questions in the process. For someone who's never purchased a home, it feels really intrusive, right? It's like, why do you need to know all of this information about me? And that they may not understand that you're asking questions. One, you need the information, but also you're asking questions because there's all these regulations coming down from HUD, and you got to make sure you meet each and every one of them. So can someone, Maurice, you want to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. So it's 3 things that were mentioned I think should be clear. First off, what is HUD? So HUD is the Department of Housing and Urban Development. It's a federal government department. So a lot of the funding that's used to reinvest into a lot of our communities comes from the federal government. It then gets broken up into state or to different municipalities such as cities or townships. And once that money comes in, everyone relies on a lot of our nonprofits in order to actually be the ones doing the moving and the shaking in the building and doing their work with a lot of people. Another thing is, one of the most common things I get asked is, well, when do I start thinking about home ownership, and when is the most appropriate time to start engaging with a housing counselor? The city of Schenectady does have a roadmap for any first-time home buyer. Housing counseling, although not mandatory, personally, I believe it should be for anybody, and the moment that you consider it is when you should be looking into it, so that you could be prepared to take advantage of an opportunity when it comes. So one of the big things, some people overnight decide they want to own a home. Some people may have been thinking about it for several years. Regardless of where you fall in that consideration, your first step should be to understand what the process is and who are the players that are involved in this. Because if someone tells you you need a realtor and you don't understand what a realtor does, you may be asking your realtor questions that they may not have that answer for you, or it may not be appropriate for them to answer because maybe it's the lender who answers that question. And sometimes it creates an unfair expectation for a lot of different professionals involved, because if your realtor can't answer something about rates, some people lose confidence in their realtor because they don't clearly understand what is the role of each individual. So one of the big things that we all do here at this table as well is immediately trying to understand where are you in your process and what is your ultimate goal here, and then let us enlighten you about what the process is. It's usually the first conversation that most of us have, so that we can identify where you are and who you need to connect with next.
Okay, all right. Did anybody else want to touch on that before I go on to the next?
Just real briefly, Habitat is an international organization, and in the United States, there's well over 1,000 affiliates. So I'm often in meetings or conference calls or Zoom meetings with other executive directors. The relationship that the City of Schenectady specifically has with its not-for-profits as far as utilizing HUD funds to help not-for-profits bring housing, affordable housing, in whether it be an affordable apartment or an affordable home, is very rare. No other habitat that I have worked with across the country has this kind of funding through HUD in such a direct way. So it's really useful. It's really very grateful for the way the city of Schenectady utilizes that money and helps us bring back neighborhoods. So.
Okay. Anyone else before I go on?
I think it's important to just say about HUD, on to what Maurice said, is that it's not all HUD. Congress creates the laws that trickle down to HUD, and HUD has to administer what the laws are, and they create regulations, and those regulations are what typically we look at and run our programs based on. But there's another level, and the other level is the local discretion we have that regulations provide us on how we're going to run our program. So a housing authority in Schenectady, you can't just go over to Albany and expect the same thing, because and it's probably true for everybody's program. Everybody writes their, what discretion we have, we'll look at our own community and determine what works best. And what works best in Albany, very close, similar city, might not be what works best in Schenectady. So it's beneficial to anybody to ask a local agency that receives HUD funds is, let me see what your policies are locally. And in our case, they're on our website. We have a whole policy manual on what our discretionary policies on Section 8 and public housing. It tells you everything you ever want to know about how things work, from how to get in to what happens after you're in. So just want to point that out. There is this layered thing, but when it comes down to the local level, anybody could ask for that information and know everything inside and out about the programs. So.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Okay, so I can't remember if it was Ms. Smith or Ms. Thorne, but you said some things about credit score. Somebody said that.
That would be me.
That would be you.
That sounds
okay.
like me.
Okay,
Yeah.
so when you say, you say credit score and things like that, we know that in our community, it's not just, we're working to help people in many ways, including educating them on financial literacy and things like that. So I want to know, okay, so I walk into your office and you tell me the process of what I have to go through, and I have a low credit score, all right? This is to any agency.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a low credit score. Now, I'm looking around at my community and I'm seeing some changes happen. And I'm realizing that the community is improving, as you stated earlier, right? So while homes might be $150,000 in my neighborhood right now, I'm thinking the way things are looking, it might be a little bit more than that. And I hope I don't miss the boat because I got a bad credit score. Mm-hmm. Now, you understand? Okay. So how do you, first of all, does that person miss the boat? Are these programs going to be gone at some point where they won't be able to purchase a home? Because some people feel like that and they abandon the whole process. Well, I have a bad credit score, I'm just going to walk away, right? Or does it make more sense for them to go through the process, and if Ms. Smith, you might know the terms better than I do, but like a home buyer's market, like how the market changes. And so now the house that I was looking at cost this much last year, but it's this much this year. Do they miss the boat because they're at a disadvantage right now?
Well, it sounds like you're speaking about a population of people that I help, because I specialize in doing very difficult or challenging deals, because I will walk the walk, educate, take the time, or whatever. That's always been my specialty. Anywhere from a 600 score and above is 3.5% down generally, and even 3% down. Below that, below 580, sorry, they changed it. 580 and below to 530 would be 10% down. So, and then grants sometimes are available for that, or they want you to still put a portion of your money in place. So it can get a little, complicated, but it can still be accomplished. But the average person will come in, that I see in my office, like 550 credit score, and you'll do a little credit repair, something, a little quick fix, and get to 580, and then they're sailing.
Okay.
Me.
Yes.
So for us, we are holding the clients a little bit accountable. So if you come in and you have a low credit score, we're going to work with you to build that. We're going to look at the credit versus, because the majority of the clients that come to BC and I fit the bracket of low to moderate income families. So they can't necessarily afford to pay a third party for credit repair, right? That can range from $100 to $150 a month. So when you're coming to us, we're going to help you do the work yourself, but you got to be in it. We have the 80-20 rule. You got to do 80% and we're going to do 20% of it. So we walk our clients through to actually look at the credit report, teach them how to read the credit report, go through and validate the things that are on their credit. And then if they find that there are errors there that don't belong there, that we can dispute those things. So we kind of take a longer route to addressing credit issues. And you said something, do they miss the boat? A lot, when my clients come in, I deal with the here and now. Because either way, if you're trying to achieve home ownership, whether that program is available 6 months from now or not, that shouldn't stop you. That shouldn't get you discouraged, because something else will be aligned at that time. So you're still gonna have to address your credit either way. We wanna make sure that our clients are in have the best credit profile possible, because that will open up other opportunities for them. Right now, there's a wonderful program with Sunny Mae, and it is called Give Us Credit. So for people who have challenging credit histories, they can use non-traditional items to create trade lines. So things that wouldn't normally report on your credit report, car insurance, rent, maybe cell phone, you can establish those trade lines with non-traditional credit if you can prove that you've paid them on time for the last 12 to 18 months. That will give you clean credit. So housing counselors do stay abreast to what is happening to be able to match clients and meet them where they are. But we take a little bit, when it comes to credit, Ms. Nicole, it can be discouraging, but we encourage our clients to put a little bit of work in to reap the benefits in the long run. We want to prevent clients from predatory lending. We want to prevent them from private mortgage insurance. We just want to put them in the best place. So that's why it's important to meet with a housing counselor. Yes, some programs say that it's not mandatory, but the counselor is going to kind of sit with the client to give them the full picture. This is where you are, this is where you want to be, this is where you could be.
Okay, so get you a counselor. That's what I heard.
And I don't think anybody here, it's not a numbers game. It's not, let's get people in. It has to be successful. It has to be the best move for that family. You don't want to help people get into a home and then they're choosing between a mortgage and winter coat for their kids.
Right.
That's not a win. Nobody has that goal. So through the services of BC&I, the work that Maurice does, the work that Ms. Smith does, they're readying families so that it is really going to be a positive, strengthening, steadying experience for that family.
Thank you so much.
So I often ask people some of the more straightforward questions, just because to me, it's not beneficial to talk around a subject. And you use the metaphor of, like, what if they missed the boat? I mean, at the end of the day, if you're trying to get to the destination, you're trying to get there. I don't care what time you get there, what date you get there. So a lot of times I'll just outright ask you, like, how bad do you want it? And if you want it bad enough, you're going to get there. It may not be when you think you should be there, but if that's your goal, we'll get you there and we'll all work with you.
Thank you so much. We're going to pause now to, I believe, take questions from the audience. So we'll only have time to take maybe one or two, but if we have anyone that has a question. Hold on one second. I think there's a microphone that you can use.
And is this a question regarding home ownership or?
Yeah, because I had a Section 8 voucher.
Stand up, please. You can't. Stacey.
I had a Section 8 voucher, and I came down there because Albany was talking about the home ownership through Section 8, and I came down to Section 8 in Schenectady because I was a voucher there. And I asked about the the program, and I never got an answer. They said y'all don't do it here. So now I'm hearing that y'all doing it.
Yeah, that's obviously not true. But I connect with you at the break if you'd like. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for all this really helpful information. I had a question just on, how the community is informed about this. Like, how are they getting this information? How are you all making sure that as many people as possible know that these programs are available? And I guess a part two of that would be like, how are you like measuring the success of the program? Like, how many people are coming through and actually getting housing? Home ownership, sorry.
In terms of how BCNI gets information out about the programs that we have available, we do everything from advertising on our website, bcnihousing.org. We have public service announcements that are aired through a network of social media, partner banks, steward shops. We have flyers that we send out into the neighborhoods in partnership with the city. And do we have some radio ads?
No radio
No.
ads, but we work closely with lenders and community partners. COVID has put kind of a halt on being able to be out in the community, but pre-COVID, you see, we're all here now. We like to do these kind of things, so we want the community to have access to these resources and word of mouth. So BNI, between BNI and COT, we've been around and serving the city of Schenectady over 50 years.
And then the success rate. So for down payment assistance or housing.
So, okay, I'll talk a little bit at. So for this year, from January up until today, we've closed 26 first-time home buyers in the city of Schenectady, which is wonderful. We're going at 1 to 2 closings a week at this point. So, did I answer your question, Ms. Nicole?
No, I think the question, the part that needs to be answered is about the success rate, but okay, so if you've had, if you've had 26, which sounds great, how many have come in to fill out the application?
So this year we've probably had roughly, we've dealt with 174 clients.
Okay.
And so far 26 of them have purchased in the city, but everybody is somewhere different in the process. So that doesn't necessarily mean that those people won't purchase, or they may not be ready this year. Some people are in different stages of fixing their credit, building their savings, so that's kind of hard, but we have a 80% success rate.
Okay, so I have a question to add to your question. Thank you for asking that. So of those who are coming into your doors, what percentage of them would you say are longtime residents of Schenectady? I lived in Schenectady all my life, and now I'm buying a house in Schenectady.
In Habitat, as far as I know, we've only had one person that came in from out of the area. I mean, she came in from Menands. She didn't come in from Texas. She came in still just over a bridge. But most of the people that come through the Habitat program in Schenectady County are Schenectady County residents.
Okay, so Schenectady County residents.
Yeah, mostly in the city, I would say. In the Habitat, we build one house at a time, sometimes 2 houses at a time, and we're building for a specific family. We're not open market.
Okay.
So it's a little bit different, okay? And our success rate is absolutely no foreclosures to date. Everybody who's achieved home ownership has been ready for it, and they're in their house.
Wonderful. Anyone else?
I mean, I can give you an example of a waiting list example that might, it's a little broad for the question. It's not directly home ownership, but of the 7,369 applications that we have on our waiting list right now, 4,218 have a city of Schenectady address. So you're seeing a split of people outside the city. I think that's what we've done is created online application process, and I think it's more accessible to people. rather than just a paper application like we used to do. So there's more opportunity for people to apply. So we have like 400 or 500 people from New York City on the list. But our preferences are that we serve the people in the city first, so that's the priority. But, I mean, that's just gives you a sense of the need, I guess.
Okay, thank you. Jenica, were you going to
Yeah,
speak to that? Okay.
we have, for our post-purchase homeowner, owner-occupied rehab grants, those are grants that are available exclusively to city residents. So those grants come through both the city and the state and are marketed specifically for city residents. And then in terms of our down payment assistance, about 2/3 of the down payment assistance is exclusively for city residents. The other third is Schenectady County, but it's not, that assistance can be offered within the city boundaries as well, so.
Thank you so much. I think we're supposed to take an intermission. Oh, we have one more question. Okay.
Hello.
Okay.
As part of the NAACP housing program, I wanted to know how many minorities are you getting in these programs that are home buyers at this point? And I want to thank the panel for being here as well.
Hi, Ms. Rembrandt.
You.
So
I'm really glad to
for
see
the
the panel
Housing
here.
Counseling Department, 90% of our clientele are minorities. And they live in the city of Schenectady. But the issue is the clients that we see coming in, they want to do homeownership, but they don't want to purchase in the city, especially families who have children. The school district is an issue. So these families have been in the city of Schenectady all of their lives and are at a point with their children that they don't want to be in the city and are looking for other better school districts for their children.
That's true. Yeah, we can open that can of worms. We'll be here for another 30 minutes.
We
Okay.
have one more question. And
Okay.
this is the last question.
Okay.
Thank you all for being here today. Really quickly, I've heard us talk about HUD, right, and the funding that comes in. We're all obviously governed by HUD and the Housing Urban Development, right? What are you seeing in the way of funds coming in from the state level to allow lifetime citizens of Schenectady to begin to purchase home-wise, right? Because if HUD dries up, then what do we do, right? If we're seeing, I heard it stated earlier that we're seeing a devaluation inside of the funding. What is coming in statewide and what is accessible right now to those 90% that are coming to you?
I mean, I could speak from my agency's perspective and my problem with our properties becoming obsolete. The average age of our properties is 77 years old right now. And had it not been for the state DHCR housing programs, I wouldn't have an answer to that. I wouldn't have a solution to that problem. The state has stepped up in a big way to help keep our apartments affordable and recreate them into what you see happening at Yates Village. So, it's been a big lifeline for us personally.
Anyone else? No? Okay. I think we got to wrap up? Okay. Well, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of this information with us this evening. If we could just go around quickly, just say the name of your organization again and maybe the website where it can be found. Or so we'll just go around.
Habitat for Humanity of Schenectady County at schenectadyhabitat.org.
First, Candor Realty. It's the number 1, ST, Candor, KANDER, realty.com.
Maurice Brown, Homeownership Coordinator. Actually, you can find resource guides for many different programs we partner with as well on the city's website, cityofschenectady.com. You can go right to the homes page, and it will enlighten you to different types of opportunities.
Richard Hominick, Executive Director of the Housing Authority. We're at smha1.org. That website's going under changes now and looking to make it more useful to the public, but there is still good information there.
Jenica Huff, CEO of Better Community Neighborhoods, Inc., and we can be found at bcnihousing.org.
Thank you so very much. Okay, so we're about to take a 5-minute intermission, and when we come back, we will have further discussion. I do want to take a moment to pause and thank Proctors Theater for their partnership in helping us to plan this event tonight, and we want to help. We also want to thank SICM for being a co-sponsor. I think. Oh, okay. I think that they're bringing in another group.
Oh, another group?
But I think they're talking about. So if you wanna. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, okay. Okay, so step. Oh, okay.
Yes. I have to, and I'm just down, well, I guess down the street from Kennedy Community Ministry.
Okay. Is it a conflict that I serve on the board?
Sorry, we on a time, baby. You
We're
gotta
on
sit down
time?
and do you.
I'm gonna sit down and do me.
You're only gonna be 2 minutes, so,
Yes.
let's get your 2 minutes out.
We'll do that quick.
And, then we can.
They'll come back, and I'll go. This is what we do.
So you're about to start the rental discussion? So you'd like to start the rental discussion?
Yes.
Public service announcement. I don't know what I'm doing. Hello, Miss
Tell
Pearl.
us about SICM, that's it, and the
Okay.
programs that they offer.
Good.
So,
Somebody
I'm
tell me
supposed to
who.
introduce.
You don't have to come. She wants you to come.
Okay.
Miss Pearl,
Yes.
how do you do?
Okay, so I don't have to introduce, right? Wait, I don't have to introduce.
Say, take a minute.
You want me to introduce?
Sorry.
I'll do it. Don't worry about it.
Okay, wait, okay, I'm just gonna throw it to y'all, I'm just letting you know.
Say it again.
I'm just gonna throw it to y'all.
That's perfectly fine.
Okay.
And I'll do my 2 minutes blurb.
Okay,
Yep.
don't forget to say your names.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll do the talking. Don't worry about it.
Okay. I don't know if I'm doing it.
It is my pleasure now to introduce to you members of SICM. I thanked them earlier, but I want to thank them again for co-sponsoring this event tonight. And now we're going to learn a little bit more about their organization.
Thank you, President Nicole, and thanks everybody for tuning in. My name is Amaury Tanjon Santos, and I serve you as the Executive Director and CEO for Schenectady Community Ministries. And with me is Pearl Tucken-Hunter, who is one of our staff people at the food pantry. For the past 55 years, Schenectady Community Ministries has been working with the community around issues of housing, youth, and the elderly, and for the past 30 years with those, we have been working with food access issues. We do that by running the largest food pantry in the Capital District of New York, for 28 years, running the summer meals program to children and youth in the city of Schenectady, and we've been serving other communities around Schenectady County. And we do that also by running 2 acres of urban farmland on 3 sites on the neighborhoods on Hamilton Hill, Vale, and State Street. It is our honor to be able to sponsor this conversation because when we think about specific issues that are caused by poverty, we often forget the interconnectedness of other issues. One of the things that in this COVID time, especially for the past year and a half, we have been thinking at SICM is what if food access and is not the issue that you have to worry about? Because you know you can go to a place where you will be able to receive 15 meals worth of food for everybody in your household every other week. What kind of brain space and even wallet space that would open for you. So our sponsoring of this event is to come in and talk about wraparound services, and for folks to know that you can free up that brain space and have that creative space around making yourself ready for home ownership or any other form of housing that you and your family want to acquire. And we're ready to serve you at 839 Albany Street on the Hamilton Hill neighborhood. So SICM.us is our website. You can find more information there. And Ms. Pearl and I and our colleagues are ready to help you at 839 Albany Street.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a quick answer for the Housing Authority because we have programs that are rent-based, income-based, meaning that it doesn't exceed 30% of your gross income. And there is no sign that that's going to change. Our development projects are holding that same line. So regardless of what happens with rent in the public housing program, we're covered. Same thing with the Section 8 program. But there's kind of an added twist to that that I can get into after others want to.
Okay. I was going to say this similar thing. Better Community Neighborhoods works in partnership with, actually everyone at this table. And the housing that we create maintains affordability. It's regulated by the state and the federal government so that, like Rich's program, the rents never exceed 30% of our residents' income. And then we also combined other services to supplement assistance in partnership with Naacp and others to provide counseling to the extent needed and access to other resources that a household might need, because we know that housing in and of itself, providing a structure, is not enough. So providing additional supports for families is critical. And the housing that we create, there is, in the past maybe 5 years, we have been looking at housing as a social determinant of health. And so creating quality affordable housing where there is no lead-based paint threat that would adversely affect little ones coming up in terms of their educational attainment and overall development is, I think, what is in the interest of all of us here. And so again, the housing isn't affected by the increase in rents versus the income stagnation as it is with others, housing opportunities that are not regulated.
Okay.
Ours is a little bit of a different circumstance, and knowing that rents are going up in not only the city but in a lot of areas, it presents a significant challenge to the department because you talked, or there was some conversation at the beginning of the presentation about how a lot of the homeownership programs fall under the umbrella of the HUD agency. For us, for our local Department of Social Services, we operate under regulation from the New York State Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance. It is very prescriptive in terms of what we're able to do in terms of a cash assistance grant. And if you look at the elements of a cash assistance grant, there's really essentially 3 elements to it. There is what's referred to as the standard of need, there's a shelter allowance, and then there is a utility allowance. And the shelter allowances are actually set in regulation. They are specific to each county in the state. And I would sit here, and in fact, I was having this conversation with the state commissioner just the other day, that the shelter allowances are completely inadequate. They do not reflect what the market brings in any community. Just to sort of give you an illustration, for the county of Schenectady, a shelter allowance for a household of 2 is about $200. You can't rent anything for $200. So what ends up happening, what people end up doing, is that they will take the shelter allowance, they will take the standard of need, they will take the utility allowance, they will combine those things, and then what you end up with is they may not necessarily be able to afford something at that level. They may be sharing. Or what we do, and I don't want to take too much away from my partner here, but we also work with some of the other community agencies that have what is referred to as rapid rehousing dollars, which gives some flexibility and some expansion in terms of what can actually be paid for housing. But from my perspective, what the state needs to do is take a hard look at what that shelter allowance is, and that there needs to be an adjustment to it, and it needs to be reflective of what the true cost of housing is. And this is not just this is not certainly a Schenectady issue. This is a statewide issue. I mean, particularly when you start looking at some of the metropolitan areas in the state, housing costs are just they're astronomical. People just cannot possibly afford, the rents in those locations. But I will hopefully create a little bit of a segue over rapid rehousing for you.
Absolutely. That's a great transition to talk about the other rental and housing assistance programs that our community has. So a lot of the voucher programs here at SCAP and a number of the other housing providers in the area, Bethesda House and New Choices, just to name a few, we work with people to advocate that this is guaranteed funding for landlords. So a lot of times what we'll do is say, are you willing to come down $100, $200 on your rent to know that you will have funding for a year or more? So that really gives landlords a peace of mind, and knowing that I can count on this and that there'll be a case manager who could be there for assistance. So that gives us a little bit of wiggle room that sometimes people who are often, have a history of eviction or homelessness don't necessarily have that ability to advocate on their own, or that resource. So we're that financial resource that we can advocate for them. We also look at what else can we supplement. If someone is paying rent on their own, can we help them? We have our employment service program. So can we help you?
And, the fact that, we know that there are quite a number of evictions that are currently pending. We're starting to see certainly an uptick in activity with, people that are coming to our office that have been evicted or on the verge of being evicted. And that seems to be much more of an immediate concern for us right now.
Did anyone else want to? Okay. Residents in the city have expressed that they are concerned that the community is being gentrified. As we know, gentrification always results in the displacement of low-income residents. What can your organization offer to prevent displacement from happening?
I could give you some information that from our programs. I did a little research on, obviously our public housing properties are where they are and have been for 50, 60, and 70 years. And hopefully we're going to maintain them and revive them as we are doing at Yates. But we also have the Housing Choice Voucher Program, which is the name of our Section 8 program, where we have 1,548 vouchers used just in the city of Schenectady. And they call it the Housing Choice Voucher Program because you get a voucher and you go where you choose to rent an apartment. So we're spread pretty evenly throughout the city. I'll just quickly run down the zip codes. 16% of our vouchers are in 12303, 18% in 12304, 11% in 12305, 7% in 12306, 20% in 12307, 26% in 12308, and only 1% in 12309. That's a very small zip code with half of it is Central Park, and not a lot of rentals there. That's the low number. So you can see that those 1,500 plus vouchers are really spread out around the city, which is a great thing because we want the deconcentration. We strive for deconcentration with that program. One of the problems we're seeing is, there's a fair market rent that's, and Jenica's got a nice chart here, and it's defined by HUD. And we create what's called a voucher payment standard based on the fair market rent. And we can set our voucher payment standard at from 90 to 110% of the FMR. And that voucher payment standard is the maximum subsidy that will pay on a tenant's behalf in the Section 8 program. So I'll give you an example. I won't mention names of apartments, but some of the concern might be a lot of new construction going on with apartments throughout the city. And obviously if we all see it, we all know it. And it's a great thing from the perspective of revitalizing downtown and other parts of the city. I live in the city. It's great to see buildings that were not being utilized in some cases. But what I'm going to tell you is that the one-bedroom voucher payment standard that we set is $991. The one-bedroom rent on one of those new buildings is $1,620 to $2,016. The other one that I looked at is $1,754 to $2,200. Now, if I'm going to subsidize $991, there's no way you're going to afford that, those buildings. And some people might look at that as gentrification. But the fact is, I think it's a building that needs to be constructed. There's a financial, pro forma on how it's going to work. And I'm not involved in those deals, but I think they're structured to make them work. The other aspect of this is, even if you wanted to move in there and pay the difference of, in the lowest case, it's about, let's say, just $630. There's a provision in the Section 8 law that says when you're leasing a new unit, you can't pay more than 40% of your monthly income to lease that unit. So in just about every case where there's a gap like that, it's going to be restricted where you can't rent it. The only way that can happen is if the rent is lowered to at or below 40% of their monthly adjusted income. So, I mean, you can see that it's good. I don't think it's bad what's happening with apartments in the city, but it is restricted where a Section 8 voucher holder is not likely to be able to rent an apartment in some of the new buildings.
And are those downtown, located downtown?
Those two are located downtown. Yeah.
Okay.
So I would give, now you know I'm also the NAACP president, so I'm going to give a little pushback to that, to what you said as far as it's good. Question is good for who?
Yeah.
Right? And then as far as who can afford to stay in town and who can't. Now, I call a spade, you know.
I don't disagree, and that's
Okay.
my whole reason for bringing it up, is, when I say it's good, I'm looking back to the 1980s when I moved here, and it was decent, and then it went really bad, where there was nothing downtown, and, it was basically vacant, and storefronts were closed, and there were, you had a couple of things open. So to see it revitalize, I look at that as good. Perhaps there just needs to be some more planning on, how to get affordable involved in those deals.
Absolutely.
Because there are ways to do it, and I just think that's a worthy conversation to have. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anyone want to add to that
I would
answer?
like to, I would like to add, there are, as Rich alluded to, a number of different affordability tools that can be used in order to safeguard opportunities for all people, no matter what the area is, downtown or, the suburbs or any of the number of communities and neighborhoods that surround downtown. There is a way to incentivize developers to include more of a mixed income in some of the rental that's being developed downtown through the tax credit program. And then in addition, there's a land trust model that works to where there are high land acquisition costs, the land trust can come in and pool money to purchase the land and maintain affordability on the land, and then lease the land to homeowners to build structures on top of the land. And in that, then the lease is restricted so that the home is sold to an income qualified, buyer in the future, while the current owner of the improvements on top of the land can generate generational wealth through the appreciation of the home, the asset that was built on the land, as the surrounding home values increase in value.
Right.
So it really, it depends on kind of the local geography, politics, and the economics when and where you employ those affordability tools, but there are ways to ensure that areas are, that opportunities are afforded to people of all backgrounds in areas where there may be gentrification starting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Yes.
So for many of the new housing projects that have gone up, including ones that our agencies work on for affordable housing, there are public discussions, comment periods, things like that. But what we've realized recently, we've done a formal study in our community through the One Schenectady group and the Schenectady Foundation, knowing that those type of meetings, that information, someone earlier asked, like, how do you guys share information about your agencies? There's a gap between here's where you could share your opinion, here's a public forum, any community member can come, and we tend to see the same people show up, which is wonderful that they're there, but we know that there's many more people whose voices aren't being heard. So we're really critically looking right now as a community, with community input, how do we make these opportunities to hear from the community, hear what's needed, even steps between home ownership and renting. Not everybody is ready to jump into home ownership. Not everybody wants that as their end goal, but renting, you're not building any equity or assets or anything like that. So, that is a conversation I don't have the answer to because it's active right now, but we're looking at that as a community so we can have more genuine public input, not just satisfaction surveys and the type of things that we have now. The other piece is that we are seeing a rise in landlords using the discriminatory practice of saying, I don't take programs, meaning any of the programs, or using source of income discrimination. So looking at where your income comes from, maybe it's from Social Security disability, and saying that I wouldn't rent to you because of that. That's illegal in New York State. But we've seen landlords, because it is so hard to find housing now for anybody, and there are some people with cash who can take that apartment, landlords will choose them over someone who maybe has a voucher or income from Social Security. So that's one of the things that SCAP and the other agencies can help advocate against. If we hear that from landlords directly, in that moment, but then also there's a process through the state that we can report it for a more official follow-up.
Okay. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was kind of like where I was going next with it. I think this part, you guys are getting the harder questions.
We are getting the harder questions.
Yeah, but listen, I got to ask the questions, okay? But okay, so I'm going to give you an actual situation that happened. So I'm also privileged to be the pastor of the oldest African-American church in the city of Schenectady, 185 years old. And I have members of my church who have lived in this community, whose families have lived in this community for generations. I'm talking about 4, 5, 6 generations have lived in this community. I had a member of my church who was asked by the landlord if she could move. They said they wanted to move a family member into the house. Said at the end of your lease, we're going to need to ask you to move because we want to move a family member in. This person actually ended up moving out of state. And rode past the house one day, saw a for rent sign in the window. I'm concerned because quite a few of my parishioners are renters. And the rents are going up all around them. And a lot of them are scared that they will not be able to afford to live in the place that they have called home for generations. Who's holding these people accountable?
So there is, we talked about good cause eviction, which may sometime in the future benefit our community, but there are laws right now in New York State that regulate income or rent increases based on how long you've lived there. So if you having a large jump in your rent. That's something we've seen too. We've had people, just a couple weeks ago, someone came in because their landlord was trying to increase the rent by $1,000 and double it in an effort to get them out, and that's not something that the landlord was able to do based on how long they were there. So that's something, reaching out to one of the housing advocacy or legal aid agencies to look at what rules may be, available for you that are already in place.
Just to dovetail off of that, we also at BCNI offer tenant counseling, so tenant housing counseling, and we have partnerships with legal aid, so we could help in advocacy to the extent that that's needed, and access other service providers that we're linked with to provide support, so.
Okay. Anyone else?
Sure. I had this conversation with a city council member recently and suggested that with the money that's available to the community from the COVID Act there, I forgot the actual name of it. What was it? ARPA, yeah. Yes, American Reinvestment Act. That it's not uncommon, but our city is very deficient in the area of fair housing. You said who holds accountable? Not many people at all. There's a fair and equal housing office in the state. There is a county committee that handles some of that as well. But really, what I think we need is a robust fair housing office that doesn't just exist to field complaints, but actually goes out and does investigations. There's a strong office in Western New York. It's a not-for-profit, and there's also one in the city that they go out and do their own investigations, and they act as if they're somebody leasing, and find a lot of deficiencies. My personal experience is, since we've been relocating families to redevelop Yates Village, I've heard all kinds of reasons that landlords turn away. We give each family a voucher that's leaving. I've turned them away. I don't want families with kids because then I got to deal with lead-based paint, kids under 6. Okay. I don't rent to Section 8, which is now that's source of income discrimination. It's against the law to say that in Schenectady, in the state. But there's really nobody out there promoting, fair housing laws, educating, having someone to turn to say, we can help you with this problem. And my guess is that a lot of landlords don't understand it either, what they legally can and can't do.
Right.
I'm not saying landlords are all, doing the wrong thing on purpose,
Right.
But I think it would really help if we had a stronger component of that.
Sounds like a challenge, Mr. Harmoneggi. Like we got our work cut out for us.
Look, I said I've been doing this for 30 years, and I've seen it a lot,
Yeah.
and it just keeps coming back and coming back.
I appreciate you saying that, though, because sometimes, and I'm sorry, I'm going to get to you,
okay.
but sometimes what someone will just say is an agency, right? And then know that even that agency might not be staffed enough to really handle the issues,
Yeah.
And so I appreciate your honesty and just saying, not a lot, that's real. But at least we know now, and those who are watching, that it is illegal for someone to say to you,
Yeah.
I don't take Section 8, I don't take,
Absolutely.
Right.
and that is discrimination. So, yeah, thank you for speaking to that. Yes.
I was just to, kind of dovetail off, you see it on Craigslist. It says right there,
Right.
we don't accept Section 8, and I'm sure that it's just a lack of
It's
not
limited
knowing.
to just you.
Huh?
It's not limited to just Section 8.
Yeah.
I've seen them.
Department of Social Services as
Yeah,
well, yeah,
right.
DSS, yeah,
Yeah.
right. So any source of income it's a violation to discriminate against because of where their income comes from, whether it's Department of Social Services, a housing authority, anywhere, so.
Thank you. So if you could just give us some more information on your organizations, tell us where we would be able to find your website or how someone can reach out to you if they are having an issue with rent or anything else. So we're going to close it out. So just give us the information.
I can go. Yeah, I can go first. So again, SCAP, Schenectady Community Action Program. Our website is scapny.org. That has our walk-in locations on it. Our main one is 913 Albany Street. We also just put a free food fridge out there, so if you're coming in and need to grab some food as well when you're coming to us, that's available, and that's 24/7 access outside our building. You can give us a call, 518-374-9181, and our receptionist can walk you through what you might need to bring to an appointment. We can also do things pretty much 100% virtually too. So if you want to do stuff just over the phone or email, however you want to access us, you can do that. And our services, there are certain programs that have eligibility, but just to come get assistance at SCAP and help navigating, there's no eligibility. Please come to us with questions. No problem, too small or big, for us to try to advocate for you. And we do have rental assistance right now. So if you are behind on your rent or if you need rental assistance ongoing, right now we have it available through September of this year. Please come into our office or give us a call. We'd love to get it out to you.
Thank you.
The Schenectady County Department of Social Services, we're located at 797 Broadway. It's right next door to the YMCA. We don't have our own website per se, but if you go to Schenectady County, all one word, .gov, you will find all the departments listed for Schenectady County. You would find us there. There's a whole plethora of information about the different programs that we operate. You can also, if you'd like, if you go to the New York State Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance, if you go to their website, there are also links there. Some of the programs that we operate, you can actually apply online. You don't necessarily need to come into the office in order to be able to do that. I would certainly encourage anybody, if they'd like to do it that way. It certainly saves you the trouble of having to come in. We're also available by phone, 388-4400, and you can certainly contact us that way. We take there was a little bit of a discussion earlier about applications. We take applications, 5 days a week. You can do it on a walk-in basis if you'd like. If you'd like to schedule an appointment, we can accommodate that as well. And anybody who is in need of assistance, we know, and I'm being realistic here. People do not want to be in my office, and I understand that. But if you truly have a need, or if you know of somebody who truly has a need, I would encourage them to come in. Anyone can apply for assistance.
Thank you so much. And I know you've already shared the information about your organization, Jeff. So we're going to use every ounce of time that we have. I think we do have, is it one question? Two? Okay.
I wanted to say, I'm really thankful that all of you came out, and I wanted to say, if a person has an issue with, and you all seem to be very much together, and I appreciate that, but what if a person has an issue with one of your agencies? How do they get the help that they might need, to try to get an understanding and try to get the agency to work with them? Is there a program or somebody that they can talk to try to navigate through that system if something is going on that's really, not right with one of the agencies?
Are you talking about a complaint against the agency
Against
itself?
the agency itself. If
Okay.
someone, not so much the agency, but maybe a worker or something, that they might be having a little bit of a contingency with, and they need a little help to, because I see that everybody is very much together, but if a person has an issue with an agency person that works at that agency, how do they get the agency to work with them, to try to get that understanding straightened out?
I mean, Deb, I could tell you that I like to hear any complaints that might involve my staff directly. You know, 518-386-7053. I'll get that. You know, you and I have talked a lot, and you know how accessible I can be to you and anybody that wants to get in touch with me. So that's the easy answer right there for us.
Anyone else?
The same is true for me. You know, if there's an issue with staff at the department, you know, certainly I want to know about it. It can come, you know, any sort of an issue can, you know, either come directly to my attention. Sometimes, you know, people will also go through the county manager's office, which is perfectly fine. You know, they know how to get a hold of me, and, you know, I'll try to be responsive to any sort of problems that people may be having with the office.
Okay, thank you. I think we had one more. I'm sorry.
Hi, good evening. I'm a long-term constituent, resident, and all 4 of my children were born and raised in the city of Schenectady. I'm also a homeowner, so therefore I pay city school property taxes. And I'm self-employed. I have a son who has a disability. And for 3 years, I feel like, as his mom, being an advocate, because I was also involved in the community, NAACP, SCLC, worked for the legislature, so I have years of experience and know a lot of people. And I know the chain of command. But what do you do when you have a child that you brought into this world, and you pay your, as a constituent, I feel like I'm a law-abiding citizen, I'm a productive member of the community, I'm a humanitarian, I love animals, I love people, you name it, environmental as well. So I'm just one of those people that would take my shirt off my back to give to a homeless person or someone who needs help. So now my son needs help, and I have advocated along with Deborah Greenberg and Janice Rouse and Olivia Adams and all the rest of them, Joe Allen, Mr. Cheers. I go way back. So now my son has a disability. He has a mental health condition. During the pandemic, I'm sure we all can understand why people that have disabilities, that have drug issues, be it drugs, be it alcohol, it has increased significantly. People are more homeless, they're more hungry, and for 3 years, I've been dealing with Schenectady County. We've been told to go to Albany, the shelter. He was told to go to the shelter in Albany because I found him sleeping in my shed. Because if I let him move in or stay with me on a temporary basis, he's no longer considered homeless. So in order to meet the criteria, my ex, his father, who also is he worked for the New York State Department of Corrections. So my son comes from a middle-income household. He was born into a house. He had his own bedroom, you know, backyard, fenced in, driveway, all that. So he grows up, he has a mental health issue. So I no longer can take him under my wing like I used to be able to when he was an adolescent. Now he's a young man. He needs help. So for him to go to the Department of Social Services and was told to go there by someone from Naacp because he was living outside in the street in the winter, snow on the ground.
This might be a conversation that you and I can have separately.
Are you the commissioner?
I am.
Hi, nice to meet you. I've spoken to you, I'm sure.
Okay. Yeah, this might be a conversation
What
because it involves obviously some, some personal issues. It might be something that would be better not televised.
Okay, so we can do that. So whenever you're available.
So we thank you, Ms. Dawson, and we do have issues in our community where people have personal issues, and that it is good to know who they can go to. And so hopefully, if nothing else, you get the resources that you can go to after this event. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I do want to say that, because I'm sitting here intensely looking at you as you're talking, that you are, from my standpoint, from the NAACP, you are heard, and that we need to have further discussion on how our residents with mental health issues are being helped, not just with housing, but with a number of things in this community. And so I'm going to say to that, discussion to be continued. So thank you for bringing that up tonight. Okay, so I think that we have run out of time. But we have had a lot of great discussion tonight. A lot of, for me, I was educated tonight on some things. I kind of feel for you guys for some of this HUD stuff. The $200, that threw me when you said, I said, what?
Good.
And people $200. So, some of the things that the regulations that you have to deal with, it's obvious that there needs to be advocacy work done collectively and on another level, because it's trickling down and affecting our residents here. So I want to thank you again. I want to thank Proctors Theater. I want to thank SICM for being a co-sponsor. I want to thank the committee that put this event together. Thank you all so much for your hard work and discussion. To be continued, thank you for joining us tonight, and we hope that you'll join us again for our next panel discussion.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Good.